Shri Advaita Gadam Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 3, Chapter 29, Text 30. Rupa Bheda Vidastatra Tataschobayato Tataha Tesham Bahu Padashreshthas Chatuspadas Tatodvipat. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Better than those living entities who can perceive sound are those who can distinguish between one form and another. Better than them are those who have developed upper and lower sets of teeth, and better are still those who have many legs. Better than them are the quadrupeds, and better still are the human beings. So we have been hearing how gradual Lord Kapila Dev is speaking about the elevation of consciousness and sense perception. It is said that certain birds, such as crows, can distinguish one form from another. Living entities that have many legs, like the wasp, are better than plants and grasses, which have no legs. Four-legged animals are better than many-legged living entities. And better than the animals is the human being, who has only 2 legs. So as the consciousness is increasing, that is the hierarchy of the living entity, which is it's based on the body, of course. But how to deal with every living entity, that is what is being said. Tato varnascha chatvaras tesham brahmana uttama brahmanesha api vedakyo hi arthakyo avidyadikastataha. Among human beings, the society which is divided according to quality and work is the best. And in that society, the intelligent men who are designated as Brahmanas are best. Among the Brahmanas, one who has studied the Vedas is the best. And among the Brahmanas who have studied the Vedas, one who knows the actual purport of the Veda is the best. So we have been hearing that better than the inanimate objects, inanimate objects like the things we use, our cell phones or computers, furniture, those are inert matter. So a living entity is much better than inert matter. Then how the living entity's consciousness is exhibited in different forms. Then as the evolution is there, so which is better in the hierarchy. So it was described some stones have life, then better than the stones are the trees and the plants. And then there was gradual elevation to the bees, there was the bees, then the serpents, like that. And then we were here now, then we heard that better than the four-legged, the many-legged animals, then better than them are the four-legged, and then human being is the best. Then among the human being also there's categories. There's categories based on guna and karma, quality and work. That is the original Varna Sharma system, which Krishna, he divided the society according to this Varna Sharma system, based on quality and work. It's not based on birth. It's based on quality and work. And in that, the Brahmanas are the most intelligent of the human beings. Then the Brahmanas who have studied the Vedas are better. But, because one may study, but not understand what the Vedas are actually trying to say. So one who has studied and understood the meaning of the Vedas, then he is the best. The system of 4 classifications in human society according to quality and work is very scientific. This system of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras has now become vitiated as the present caste system in India, But it appears that this system has been current for a very long time, since it is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. So in Vedic society, this Varna-Shrama system was there. It has been existent in human society from the beginning. It's not that the human beings were cavemen and then the evolution, that's what has happened. No, no, in fact, they were very intelligent before. Srimad Bhagavatam, they had so much. We see in 5,000 years ago, the way they were doing the warfare, they not only had the fire weapons, which are prominent nowadays, but they had water weapons, they had air weapons, different kinds. So they were much more advanced. It's not that man was animal and then gradually he's elevated his consciousness into a human being. No, it's not that. We can see from the scriptures that it gives us a proper understanding. No, human beings, there's always been a civilized class of human beings. And then what happened? In fact, when Kali Yuga came in, then there has been a gradual the degradation of the original Varna-Shrama system. The Varna-Shrama system degraded into the ordinary caste system, where the certain class of people, they claim that they are better because of birth. But nowhere in the Shastra says that birth is a qualification. It is guna and karma, based on our nature and the nature that we have acquired, gunas, and the work that we are doing. So, unless there is such a division of the social orders in human society, including the intelligent class, the martial class, the mercantile class, and the laborer class, there is always confusion as to who is to work for what purpose. So we can see, in a proper organization, if we see any company which is really well managed, each person knows what they're supposed to do. So there's no chaos, because there is such perfect management, there's such perfect delegation, everyone knows what they have to do. But when the management is not good, there's a lot of chaos, a lot of, people don't know what they're supposed to do. And that's what's happening in the current society right now. Nobody knows what's their purpose, what are the work they're supposed to do. And that's the reason we see so much more unrest happening in society now. So a person trained to the stage of understanding the absolute truth is a Brahmana. And when such a Brahmana is a Vedagya, he understands the purpose of Veda. A Brahman, why is he a Brahman? Because he's understanding the absolute truth. Absolute truth. He's trying to understand the Brahman. So that's why it's called Brahmana. And when such a Brahmana, he's understood what the Vedas are saying, then he's called a Brahmana. He's called a Vedagya, knower of the Vedas. The purpose of the Vedas is to understand the absolute. One who understands the absolute truth in three phases, namely Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan, and who understands the term Bhagwan to mean the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is considered to be the best of the Brahmanas or a Vaishnava. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Vedescha sarver aham eva vedaya, Vedantakrit Vedavid. He's saying that by all the Vedas, it is he who is to be known. The Vedas are so vast. There's vast Vedas. And what are they trying to tell us? They're trying to tell us about Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the absolute truth. So one who can understand that the absolute truth is a person and there is light coming from his form, which is the Brahma Jyoti, and he has expanded himself in this material world as the Paramatma in the heart of every living entity, then such a perfect person, then he is understood to be the best of the Brahmanas because his knowledge is perfect. his knowledge is perfect, he's called the best of the Brahmanas, or he's called a Vaishnava, because he's understood the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is Vishnu, Krishna. So anyone who accepts Krishna as God, he is a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava is always a Brahmana, but a Brahmana may not be a Vaishnava because of the level of understanding. Brahmana means he's got the understanding of the Brahman. A Vaishnava, he's got the understanding of the Brahman and the Paramatma and the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, or Lord Vishnu. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, so we read on. Artha Arthagyan samshaya cheta tata shreyan swakarmakrit mukta sangas tato bhuyan adogda dharmam atmanaha. Better than the Brahmana who knows the purpose of the Vedas is he who can dissipate all doubts, and better than him is one who strictly follows the Brahmanical principles. Better than him is one who is liberated from all material contamination, and better than him is a pure devotee who executes devotional service without expectation of reward. So all are living entities. All are living entities, but we can see how because a consciousness is more elevated, the consciousness is, as the consciousness goes higher, then they are being called better and better and better, because ultimately a pure devotee who executes devotional service without expectation of reward is in his original position. That's the original position of every living entity. So Arthagya Brahmana refers to one who has made a thorough analytical study of the absolute truth and who knows that the absolute truth is realized in three different phases, namely Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. So Srimad Bhagavatam says that. Srimad Bhagavatam, one of the foundational verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is this: Brahmaiti Paramatmeti Bhagwan iti Shabdayate. That the learned transcendentalists understand the absolute truth as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan is non-dual, is not different. It's not different. Bhagwan, he is the personality of Godhead. The Brahma Jyoti, Brahman, is the light coming from his body, and Paramatma is his feature. If someone not only has this knowledge, but is able to clear all doubts, if questioned about the absolute truth, he's considered better. So one who understands this, that the absolute truth, he has this three phases. He's understood in three phases, or he's realized in three phases. So one who's come to that point, he's called the Arthagya Brahmana. And then if one is able, not only he knows that the absolute truth is understood in these three phases, but he's able to explain it to others, remove everyone's doubts regarding the absolute truth, then he's better. Further, there may be a learned Brahmana Vaishnava who can explain clearly and eradicate all doubts. But if he does not follow the Vaishnava principles, then he is not situated on a higher level. So then one who's following all the principles, he's even higher. One must be able to clear all doubts and simultaneously be situated in the Brahmanical characteristics. So this is that he should also follow, should be preached by example. Not only he's understood the knowledge, but he's following all the Vaishnava principles. Sadachar. Such a person knows the purpose of the Vedic injunctions, who can employ the principles laid down in the Vedic literatures, and who teaches his disciples in that way is called an Acharya. So Acharya, who is an Acharya? Acharya, he understands what the Vedas are saying. He knows what is the purpose of the Vedas. And he's understood all the knowledge of the Vedas, the conclusion of the Vedas. And then he's understood it, and he can also apply the knowledge. You see, science of God is it's a science of self-realization, science of God, science of Krishna consciousness. Why? Because the knowledge can be practically applied. You know, if there's a knowledge which cannot be practically applied, what use is there of such a knowledge? So gyan is knowledge. But when that gyan is applied practically, it becomes vigyan, applied knowledge. I'm sorry, becomes a science. So not only does he apply it, but he also teaches others. And then such a personality is called an acharya. Acharya is one who is an example. He teaches by example. He follows the principles himself, and he teaches others to follow, and he's thoroughly understood the conclusion of the Vedas. So he's thoroughly understood the scriptures, the shastras, the rules, the regulations, and he's following everything. The position of an acharya is that he executes devotional service with no desire for elevation to a higher position of life. So acharya, he is simply engaged in loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord, and he does not want anything for himself. He's already in the perfect situation, eternal loving service to God. He's already achieved that position. There's nothing higher to gain. So the highest perfectional Brahmana is the Vaishnava, a Vaishnava who knows the science of the absolute truth, but is not able to preach such knowledge to others, is described as being in the lower stage. One who not only understands the principles of the science of God, but can also preach is in the second stage. And one who not only can preach, but who also sees everything in the absolute truth, and the absolute truth in everything is in the highest class of Vaishnavas. So the other day we were reading the Kanishta Adhikari, the Kanishta devotee, the Madhyam devotee, and the Uttama Adhikari. So the Kanishta Adhikari, that he knows the science of the absolute truth. He knows, he's a devotee of God. He's following the rules and regulations. He's properly initiated in the Krishna consciousness movement. So he knows, he's understood the position of God. He knows the absolute truth, position of absolute truth, but he does not know how to explain it to others. He does not know how to give this knowledge to others. So he's called in a lower stage. It's already a very high stage, because one who knows the absolute truth is already a high stage. Again, on this high stage, there are levels. So he's called the Kanishta Adhikari, the beginner devotee. He's the beginner. He's understood Krishna as God. He's following his rules and regulations. He's following the prescribed method. He's following the spiritual master. He's doing his chanting, but he's not able to preach. Then, higher than him is who's doing all that, but he's also able to preach to others. So that's called the second stage, the Madhyam Adhikari. Madhyam Adhikari. Higher than the Madhyam Adhikari is that not only has he understood himself, not only is he preaching to others, but he is seeing everyone, every living entity as a part and parcel of God. And he's seeing that the Lord, he is there in the heart of everyone. He's seeing the Paramatma is there in everyone's heart. Then he's the highest class of Vaishnavas, the Uttama Adhikari. He's the Uttama Adhikari. So we should aspire to come to this stage, Kanishta Adhikari, then gradually come to at least the Madhyam platform. At least come to understand the absolute truth and then explain it to others. So it is mentioned here that a Vaishnava is already a Brahmana. In fact, the highest stage of Brahmanical perfection is reached when one becomes a Vaishnava. So one may say, okay, I become a Brahmana and that's enough. No. From becoming a Brahmana, we still have to progress to become a Vaishnava. Vaishnava means one who's understood the absolute truth. He's a devotee. He's a devotee of Lord Krishna or of Lord Vishnu. And he's following the rules and regulations. He's following his vows of Krishna consciousness. So, and then this Vaishnava is a perfect Brahmana. Perfect Brahmana. So we can see from the Brahman platform, there is still further. We still have to come further to come to the platform of a Vaishnava. Is that okay? Of course, a Vaishnava is a very high platform. It's a very, very high platform, you know. We can just try to become devotees. We can try to become devotees by hearing, by chanting, following the four regulative principles. Like that, try to become devotees. So, reading on. Tasman mai arpita shesha kriyarthatma nirantaraha mai arpitatmanaha pumso mai sanyasta karmanaha na pashyami parambhutam akartu samadarshana. Therefore, I do not find a greater person than he who has no interest outside of mine and who therefore engages and dedicates all his activities and all his life, everything unto me without cessation. So this is the pure devotee. In this verse, the word samadarshanath means that he no longer has any separate interest. Samadarshanath, no longer any separate interest. The devotee's interest and the Supreme Personality of Godhead's interest are one. So means the devotee has no personal plans. He says, my dear Supreme Lord Krishna, whatever is your desire, I will do that. I don't have any material desires. I don't have any personal agenda. I don't want anything to do for myself. I just want to please you. This is the platform of perfection. That's the platform of perfection. Right now, what we are doing is, why should I listen to you, my dear Lord? I need to do my own things. You know how busy I am. You know how important I am. You know, if I don't do this, what's going to happen? You know, we have our own agendas, our own plans. But the perfection is when we work for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. We have no separate interest other than pleasing the Supreme Lord. For example, Lord Caitanya, in the role of a devotee, also preached the same philosophy. He preached that Krishna is the worshipful Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that the interest of his pure devotees is the same as his own. So Lord Caitanya is Krishna himself. He came 500 years ago to teach us how to become devotees, how to worship the Lord. He showed us that. Sometimes Mayavadi philosophers, due to a poor fund of knowledge, define the word samadarshana to mean that a devotee should see himself as one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is foolishness. When one thinks himself one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there's no question of serving him. When there is service, there must be a master. Three things must be present for there to be service: the master, the servant, and the service. Here it is clearly stated that he who has dedicated his life, all his activities, his mind, and his soul, everything, for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord is considered to be the greatest person. So, so we may think, there's no difference between God and me. I'm God myself. I'm the living and I'm the Brahman. I'm the Para Brahman. Everything. Right now, maybe I'm not God, but one day I will become God. But that is foolishness. We can never become God. We can never become God. And here Lord Kapila Dev is teaching us who's the highest, who's the best person. He's saying the best person is the one who is engaged in serving the Supreme Lord, one who's engaged in serving God. So when we are saying serving, means there is the master, the servant, and the service. So the master and the servant are different identities. They are different individuals. If you say, oh yes, I'm serving God and I'm God myself, means I'm serving myself, or means I'm God, it's illogical. Some people say that, right? That I'm God, now I have forgotten. I'm going to chant some mantra, I will remember then that I am God. So I'm serving myself. So then we are thinking, oh yes, I'm God, I'm praying to myself. It's like totally illogical, total foolishness. The word akartu means without any sense of proprietorship. Everyone wants to act as the proprietor of his actions so that he can enjoy the result. A devotee, however, has no such desire. He acts because the personality of Godhead wants him to act in a particular way. We are always taught, take ownership for your action, we are taught in our modern education, take ownership. But for what we should be, how we are acting. We are responsible for our activities, but we should not think ourselves the doer. We should think ourselves as instrument of the Lord. And we should act as the instrument of the Lord. Not only think, but act. Nimitra matra savya sachi. Krishna says to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, just become my instrument, because that is our true platform. We have these great, fantastic ideas about ourselves, I am doing this, I'm doing that. If I don't do it, the whole world is going to crash. Nothing is going to exist without me. That's what we think. But we need to act as an instrument of God without sense of proprietorship. When he has no personal, he has no personal motive. When Lord Chaitanya preached Krishna consciousness, it was not with the purpose that people would call him Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rather, he preached that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and should be worshipped as such. So Krishna, he came 500 years ago as Lord Chaitanya. And when he came, he never said, I'm Krishna and worship me. Why? Because this is Kali Yuga. If Lord Chaitanya would have said that, then we all would have said, yes, yes, I'm Krishna, I'm God, worship me. But what did Lord Chaitanya say? He said, I'm not Krishna, you worship Krishna. That's what all the Vedas are telling us. Worship Krishna, he's the Supreme Lord. Krishna himself is saying in the Bhagavad Gita, you worship me and you will come to me. So everything comes to one point, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and he should be worshipped. A devotee who is a most confidential servant of the Lord never does anything for his personal account, but does everything for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, it is clearly stated, Mai Sanyasta Karmanaha. The devotee works, but he works for the Supreme. This is Karma Yoga. This is Bhakti Yoga. This is Bhakti Yoga, working for the pleasure of the Lord. What God is telling him to do, he's doing that. Now, we may also say, yes, God told me that I should go drink some wine. God is never going to tell us that. We don't even know what is God telling us, because our consciousness is so covered. That's why we need the guidance of a spiritual master. That's why we need the guidance of a spiritual master who can tell us how to please God, how to work for the pleasure of God. It is also stated, Mai arpitatmanaha, he gives his mind unto me. These are the qualifications of a devotee. So a devotee, this is a devotee. He is working only for the pleasure of Krishna, nothing for his personal satisfaction, who according to this verse is accepted as the highest of all human beings. So this is the Uttama platform, the Uttama Adhikari, the highest of all human beings. Are there any questions or comments? If
No,
not,
all
then we'll skip.
perfect. It's okay.
All good. Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shilpa Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for listening.